Okay, welcome to the Tuesday afternoon meeting, BOCC. Looks like we're going to start the meeting right off in executive session. She disappeared. Did they give us a time frame on that? Do you have any idea what they were? Contract negotiations for 15 and go from there? Okay. Well, give it a shot. Okay, we'll adjourn.
The board is extending the executive session for a period of 5 minutes until 1:53 p.m.
Okay, back from executive session, no actions taken. Department updates, HHS. I will interject while you're handing that out real quick that I do have a commitment over at Hall of Justice at 3. So if we run long and you see me get up and leave, it's not anything you did. And I know Turwa is one of the last ones, but I did hear Turwa over at Longview Council last Thursday, so I am aware of what they're going over.
We will be brief. Gina James, Health and Human Services. We just outlined a couple of things for today to touch on in our different program areas on the agenda here. So the first item, we've talked about this briefly the last couple of months, a food program RFP we issued to get our food database transitioned from an old access database into a Acela, where we do our other types of permitting out of. So we issued an RFP for that. We got 4 responses to that. For us, there was a clear company we wanted to move forward with, who is GovPath, who happens to has some experience with the county. And so we'd like to move forward with that. If there's any questions from the board, we're happy to talk through that more. Otherwise, we would kind of look to start developing a contract with them. That would come to a Tuesday meeting. Just as a reminder, we started looking into this. We were allocated some grant funding from the state that can help with some infrastructure type projects, and we identified this as a need for us in our food program. So the cost to do this is covered by that specific grant from the state, and the cost came in well under the grant. So we're excited about that we may be able to even cover some unanticipated costs that sometimes happen. It sounds like they would be able to start fairly quickly, and it would take a few months for the project. So any questions on that? No? Okay. The next item I wanted to touch on, the Consolidated Homeless Grant. So this is that 2-year, it runs July 1 of 25 through June 30th of 27. This is the $11.7 million grant that we got from the state this year for housing and homeless services. We have about half of that allocated currently for different services. We're looking at some additional projects. I'm kind of having some back and forth dialogue with the state on those, but they did send a contract amendment. What they're doing is they're recapturing some of the fiscal year 26 funds that we anticipate not being spent. They're also issuing some fiscal year 27 funds as well. It ends up being a decrease of about 1.8 million in the contract. So the new contract total would be about 9.8 million. Pardon me? The total 2-year contract. Yep.
Is it, I remember when we first started talking about this contract, the state was in the process of kind of revisiting how they award these, using some different metrics. Is that the result of them doing that, or is this something different?
No, partially. They will be sort of right sizing contract allocations. And so if we're not utilizing certain fund sources, then we may not see that in our contract the next time. And so, they're recapturing 26 funds that we don't anticipate spending before June 30th of this year. And then moving
They're doing that
forward
with probably all the counties?
Yeah. Yep. They're doing
Okay.
some shifting. They will likely reallocate those funds to another county.
Is that
If
based on our experience, or did we fill out a survey and say, we're probably not going to utilize these funds?
they reached out to us, they reached out to all counties and said, if you have funds you don't anticipate spending by this time frame, let us know. And they're going to, recapture that so they can be utilized elsewhere.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, we are having some back and forth dialogue about a couple different projects. It sounds like some there, they had already approved the project with Kelso School District, so that's getting finalized. We've talked about a project with Janus Youth, with Community House, with a couple others that we're talking more in depth with Commerce about. So once I get if I get an approval from them that they would be okay with using the grant funds for those projects, I'll come back to the board and talk more about what those look like.
With the Kelso School District, is that the McKinney-Vento program you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's their what program?
Their outreach with homeless youth and McKinney-Vento work
Oh,
that they do.
well, we'll look at that contract, right?
Yes. Yeah, it actually should be getting on the schedule later this month. The agenda. Okay. Any questions on the consolidated homeless grant for now? Okay. Veterans relief funding. So we talked a while back about the fund balance that we have there. It's about $1 million. I looked into a little bit with Hoswa and an option to, I just had some conversation about, what would this look like if we wanted to, try to reserve some veteran specific housing units. And they were really interested in that for Goldfinch, for the newest project. If we wanted to use some of the veterans relief funding in that way to secure some veteran specific dedicated units in that building, that they are interested in that. So that is an option for that fund balance if we wanted to explore that even further. Another thing that came up as a need was service animals for veterans. I think there's a couple different organizations in the region that train and provide service animals to veterans. My understanding is the animals are provided at no cost to the veteran. The veteran's responsible for ongoing, medical care of that animal. But the organizations have some cost to purchase the animal and train the animal. So we could look more into that if that's an interest of the board as well, in terms of supporting some of that cost to say, maybe we would fund, 10 service dogs to Cowlitz County veterans or something like that. So that's an option as well.
How much do we give them a year?
Who?
The Veterans Board?
The advisory board?
Yeah, the advisory board.
We don't give any money to the Veterans Advisory Board. So they give input to what the types of assistance and the amount of assistance that veterans can access. That's their primary role, but they themselves, we don't have They don't utilize the funding as a board in that sense.
How much do we give to the veterans a year total?
What we get from the taxes, right around
220.
225, 250,
Mhm.
right in there.
Yeah, this last year, I think we were close to 180,000, I think we issued in assistance. We're just working on our year-end report, so I'm happy to share that with you. That'll show kind of the different funding levels and number of veterans and assistance categories. So it's gone up. The assistance amounts have gone up, so the amount of assistance that is being provided has also gone up, so.
Never thought about the service animal concept. Did you come up with that? Who came up with that?
Commissioner Farrell actually
That's a-
mentioned it.
That's a
I think
good-
he
good
heard
thought,
it
Yeah.
out and about as a need. It was interesting. So yeah, it's, and we would with the Veterans Assistance Program, if a veteran applied for medical care for their service animal, that's probably something we would support under a miscellaneous assistance category. But that upfront, sort of sponsoring a service animal is something that we could, if we wanted to set aside X amount of money to sponsor a couple service dogs, we could do that.
Gotcha.
So. Yeah. So the last item, community development block grant. I'm going to give a little bit of history here. I think Commissioner Dahl probably is slightly familiar, but community development block grants, there's a couple different types of grants with the state. The one we currently have is called the Public Services Grant. In years past, the county is engaged in other types called the General Purpose Grant. Through those grants, there was some housing rehab, or I can't remember exactly what it was, maybe some like energy efficiency programs, something like that, that low-income households could apply for through the county and receive some assistance with their some type of work to their house. We haven't been involved in those types of projects for a long time, but what happens every now and then is when those homeowners who receive that assistance sell their home, there's, because of the assistance that was provided to fix up their home, there's some lien written into their paperwork that if they sell, they have to repay the county back some of that cost. And so we see that come back to us. The state calls it program income when that happens. The last couple times that's happened, it's been $25,000, $30,000 right in there. And the state's direction was you have to use this in your current grant. And so that's what we did. We would use it in our current grant. We received this program income this recently, and it was a little over $10,000. And when we reached out to the state said it's under the threshold. I can't remember if it's $20,000 or $25,000. When it's under a certain threshold, you do not have to utilize it in your grant program, and the county can utilize it however they would like. And so I'm just bringing that to the board to say, we have this $10,000 now at the county that is, we can just give it to Chris wherever he went, or Sean. Which one is he? Sean. I get him mixed up. So we have that funding that's here, and if you want us to use it in our department, the county can use it in the general fund. So that's that. It's kind of an odd one, but yeah. So the state doesn't want it back. And
You know how many we have out there, just out of curiosity?
I don't. I'm hoping they're kind of winding down. It's every couple of years, it seems like one comes up.
Well, I wonder because I don't know when that started, but I know now you have Habitat will help people with that, and CAP has a program for that. So I wonder how much that the state one is
Yeah.
needed anymore, or
Yeah, I know we've not been involved in those types of projects for a number of years, and partly because it is kind of a stickier one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know how many might still be out there.
Yeah.
But
So is the recapture a percentage of the appreciation and value based on when they started the program?
I'm sure it is some type of formula. Kaylee might know more. She was more involved in those projects back when the county was still doing them. But I imagine it's decreases over time until there's nothing owed. But if they sell their home before that time, then there's some that's owed back.
Surrender charge.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. So we'll can connect with Sean a little bit on that and go from there. So
I got a question for you, and it came from sitting in a steering committee meeting last Thursday with Wasack.
Mm.
They were kind of going over the budget, and what they said was the Group B funding has been pulled from the budget. So there's no Group B funding. This is for our water systems.
Okay.
And that, so the options is the county can pay for that option, or you can have the state do it. But what I'm hearing is if you ask the state to do it, it can take forever for these people to get permits and whatnot. So I don't know, maybe we want to just look at how to handle that. I don't even remember how much we get from the Group B funding.
It's not a lot. 20,000.
So it's
Yeah.
not a ton of money, but
It's not a
Okay.
ton, but we'll definitely, that's the first time I've heard that actually, that it's been pulled. We had thought it would probably decrease again because it went down once already. And so, yeah, we'll look into that and figure out what that looks like.
yeah, if it really, I don't have any reason to believe Wasack is not telling me the truth, but my bigger concern is if we're providing a service with this and they have an expectation and it gets done in 3 days or whatever,
Mhm.
and we're going to turn it to the state, it doesn't get done for 3 months, I have a concern with that.
Yeah, Group B systems fall to counties. And I know that the state offers, they have a fee structure and they will offer to charge their fee structure if counties don't have a fee structure set up. We do for Group Bs, and we've offset because of the grant funding for those costs. And so it may be that we have to re-implement the fee, and we may need to look at the fee amount this next year too, to see if we don't have that other funding to help, then we may have to look at that.
Okay.
So, but we would look to see how we can do it here locally before relying on the state.
Gina, I don't know if this is a question for you or not, but I've actually fielded quite a few phone calls from elderly citizens on fixed incomes concerned with the cost of their utility rates, water and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Are there grants available for these elderly people who are on these fixed incomes that their utilities are just skyrocketing and they don't have any? Because we have grant funding for everybody else. I mean, homeless people can get it, all sorts of stuff. Is there anything for those citizens who are, a lot of them are homeowners paying taxes on a fixed income and the
Mhm.
utility costs are just skyrocketing?
Yeah. Not that comes to my mind, not through funding that comes through us. I don't know what type of assistance, if the PUD or CAP would be the two that I would probably refer people to.
No, okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one. There's less assistance available for homeowners. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
The last thing I was just going to mention, we have with these meetings, I think the next time we're here, it'll be more about budget. And so we're going to work with Sean on what that looks like for our department. I know we have some grants and different things that makes it a little bit different for us. And so we're going to work with him a little bit on what that looks like. So how we can bring information to you that's useful. So,
Okay,
okay,
thanks, Gina.
thank you.
Public Works. This is. For the meeting I'm going to? Oh, this is just different. Okay. Okay. It's been a while since you saw me. You've been working on a line, I think. Yeah. Huh.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike Moss, Public Services Director. So first thing on our agenda today, we have the amendment to the warranty deed. This is for the headquarters landfill. So I gave you a copy of the current amendment to the warranty deed that we're working on, and then also an exhibit from 2014. So the big point of this amendment is we're changing the infrastructure map. Weyerhaeuser has the timber rights for the trees at the headquarters landfill. And over the years, where infrastructure area is going to change because we're going to add infrastructure from ponds to more cells for taking waste up there. So back in 2014, you can see it was a pretty simple map. And Weyerhaeuser and the county decided to upgrade this map to a little more detail. And the very last page of what I gave you is the detailed map. So all we're doing is upgrading the map to really show our progress in the infrastructure, adding more cells, and then also shows the area that's more cross, the one that says timber reservation. That's what they do plan on logging in the next so many years. As our infrastructure enhances and grows, that timber reservation will get smaller and smaller. So over the next 60 years, it'll be zero timber reservation and entire infrastructure. So I would guess that this will probably get updated every 10 to 15 years as we get additional infrastructure at the landfill. We'll update this map with Weyerhaeuser. So it just continuously shows what their timber reservation is. So everything else stays exactly the same.
Are the boxes the same?
Yeah, this is a hard map to go
So
off
this
of. This
box 23, this box 23 is the same here,
Yeah,
right?
correct.
Wow, yeah, it's really expanded from that last map.
Yeah, and there's really a simple map in 2014. This is when the county initially purchased this from Weyerhaeuser. So we just, mainly Weyerhaeuser came to us, said we'd like to have a more detailed map. So our GIS department worked on this map, and then our survey team, we walked the property, and the survey team went through all the legal description, which is what mainly what I handed out to you is, and everything seemed up to speed. This is actually in legal's hands right now. I got a chance to send it to Doug. So hopefully the next couple of days we get approval and then we'll put it on the agenda for you guys. So nothing big other than just an update to the map is all we're changing with Weyerhaeuser's agreement.
So can this map still expand, or is this?
Nope,
it?
that's the outline is the
That's it.
300, that's it. That's our 300 acres right there.
Okay.
Unless down the road you buy additional property from Weyerhaeuser.
Yeah, okay.
And are each one of those little squares inside that area, are those cells?
Nope, that's just that way that's just how they did it on the grid.
Okay.
Yep. So they are actually having 2 active logging sites in that timber reservation, actually already started one and the other one will start later this summer. So we're using the main 1600 line road along with all our landfill trucks.
Through
So a
there.
little additional traffic up there right now. And they'll replant that as they need to, knowing that they like to see our history. They see what the cells get developed out, so they know a certain cell will get developed in say 2040. They may or may not replant that area just due to the fact they know that in 15 years we're going to be taking it back out to go back to another cell. So they look ahead to see what years we're going to go into all 22 cells we have at the landfill for replanting purposes. And then we also have monitoring wells and some of that timber reservation, they have to work around those too. So we have all those marked and they've already found them all and they have to stay within, I think stay away 50 feet from those monitoring wells.
Interesting, okay.
So when we get approval from Doug, we'll either next Tuesday, the following Tuesday, we'll put it on the agenda. The second item is also dealing with Weyerhaeuser. It's a land use agreement for us and them at the headquarters landfill. As you know, there's quite a few, or maybe not know, a lot of horses in our area off Moore Road over to the landfill. So they're asking for a land use agreement. So Doug and his team and also Weyerhaeuser has been working on this license. I'll read this paragraph. Installing, maintaining, and operating a portable horse corral pen on county landfill property at the locations on the map for temporary holding, feeding, loading, and transporting horses gathered from the licensee's property to off-site facilities or locations. So they've been doing this on their own property for quite a few years, trying to corral horses and then train and break these foals and yearlings and then rehome them. As you know, we have lots of horses on the landfill.
They're trying to reduce the herd or
Yes,
keep it at
correct.
a manageable
Well, creep it,
level?
I don't think they're ever going to be able to reduce it, but probably try to keep it more of a manageable level.
Hmm,
And
okay.
so they've asked if they could put a couple pens in the next year on county property at the landfill because we do have quite a few horses running loose in that area. So it's up, if you guys want to move forward with this land license agreement, we'll certainly bring it to you. If you have any reservations about them putting pens on county property, we won't move forward. So kind of leave it up to you guys if you're okay with this rehoming.
I'm not opposed to looking at it.
Sounds like they've been doing it for a while just on their land. And
They-
they're just asking if they can put it on our land.
Exactly right. Yeah, they're right outside our property line now doing it. It's kind of a unique thing. They for years, they try to close them in, but they get close and that they run out of the pens. They actually now have a remote system and they have a camera in place. So when they get the right animal horse inside there, they actually have a button from their office and it actually automatically closes the gate and they get the right one in place.
Well, can they still be responsible for, for any liability issues that come up?
Yeah, that's what's,
Okay.
this is a fairly large document I have from legal on this. Yeah,
Is it Weyerhaeuser's not actually doing it? They're contracting with somebody, right?
correct. That is correct. Yeah. It's Weyerhaeuser's contract. It's a third party that's doing it.
And if they get done using it, they're gonna remove all the facility stuff they install?
Yeah, it's just it's a portable fencing
Okay.
corral. Yeah. So, okay, moving forward. Okay, great, thank you. Third, large item, leachate line update. As you know, we've been dealing with a plugged leachate line, which is bringing the wastewater from the headquarters landfill down to, actually the vault is behind Public Works and then it runs over to Turwa. We've had a plugged line, it'll be 3 weeks tomorrow. But we've made some great progress the last 2 days. We're actually working on our last 2 known plugs right now and hoping to be able to turn pumps on tomorrow, which is great timing with the weather that's coming in place. The ponds are getting fairly full. We're about 1.7 million gallons in our second pond. Our first pond is full. Our capacity is 2.5 million. So about 800,000 gallons left. We've been running trucks, tanker trucks from the leachate ponds to our location at Public Works for about 7 days. We've run about 1.7 million gallons off the hill in tankers, and we're going to run them all the way at least through Friday, depending if we get the lines open or not. So at least through Friday, we'll run about 3 million gallons down the hill in tanker trucks. So a lot of extra volume, unfortunately, on Headquarter Road and South Silver Lake Road. But without that 3 million gallons coming down the hill, we've been overflowing quite a while ago. We've had a lot of different agencies helping us, City of Longview, Beacon Hill, then of course a few different contractors with us, working 6 days a week, sometimes till midnight, 2 in the morning, trying to find these plugs, get them open. When we move to the next section, we put cameras in the line, mainly from Beacon Hill and the City of Longview, scope the line, find our plugs, open it back up again, then we keep moving down the line. So we've been working in a major section, you probably see it near I-5 on the east side of I-5, the Old Pacific Highway there. We have like a 3-mile, 4-mile stretch where we've had most of our plugs at, but we feel fairly confident that we'll get the last couple of the day, I said earlier, and hopefully tomorrow morning hit the buttons and we'll have some leachate coming out at the Public Works vault. So fairly expensive task for us. We haven't got final numbers yet, but I'm guessing we're probably nearing $500,000 so far in this trucking and repair.
Mike, are we taking the opportunity to insert outlets at these sections so that we don't go through this again?
Not yet. Right now, it's kind of like put it together and get it running, but we know where our low spots at and would like to put vaults in there this summer, be able to clean those areas out. We're also right now are putting valves in to be able to shut the line down. Currently, there's only one valve at the very bottom of Headquarters Road. So when we want to run leachate or have an issue, say there's a break in one of the ARVs, which we've had in the past, you have turned the pumps off at the landfill, but all the water that comes down from the valve at Headquarters kind of has to come out somewhere. This way we have multiple valves on there, so we have breaks, we can actually turn it off at that location. So that's what we're doing now, but we need to go back and put real cleanouts in multiple sections. And now knowing where our plugs are at, those are probably the best spots for our cleanouts. Well, we're going to try, it takes a little bit longer time to put those in, so we're going to do that during the dry season.
How many cleanouts do you plan on installing?
I'm gonna have the engineer help us on that when we get to that point. I don't know if it's every mile, we'll probably bring in some experts in the field and kind of tell us where we should have these cleanouts at. There'll be multiple in the flat land. Right now, we don't seem to have a lot of problems on Headquarters coming down. It might just because of the head pressure and the volume you have coming downhill. But once it hit that flat down there, that's where we had our issues at. So I'll give you good news. I'll show you a video tomorrow, hopefully of flow in Public Works parking lot, in the vault. That's all I've got on the leachate.
Hello, Savannah Clement, Public Works. I did a presentation last week with Sean on facility and property review with the board, and I promised I would come back and ask for further direction or any direction if the board wishes to give it as far as actions on property sales, property reviews, building consolidations, building sales. I just didn't know if you guys had had a chance to review those documents and if you wanted to talk about it.
I did, and I personally would like to talk and discuss all of the above that you mentioned. I think there's some good opportunities in each one of those options that we can look at.
Okay.
And I think that there's some viable options for us to save money and possibly make some too.
Okay. Do you guys want to talk about that? Starting with a facilitation meeting, I mean, with one board member, how would you like to approach that? Do you want to do it in a workshop?
I don't necessarily care to do it with just one of us.
Okay. I guess, oh, go ahead.
I think a workshop is a good idea. The only thing I add, I agree. I think there's some opportunities out there, but I'm a numbers guy, so I like to see what those opportunities mean in numbers for like ongoing costs or savings or whatnot. And so I know that takes a little bit of work with Sean, but
Okay, so what we could do, if I'm hearing you correctly, is we can come up with, are you wanting pretty solid future maintenance costs on the large buildings or all of the buildings?
Well, you know, when you pick any building, say
Okay.
right across here,
Mhm.
okay, we're okay, we don't need it now, we got everybody housed, but what do you see for the future and what would it cost if we had to rebuild something like that? And does it make sense to get rid of that if we think we have to rebuild in even 10 years?
Okay,
I mean, just some thought behind it so we make decisions that will last some time.
okay. Would the board like us to pursue market value pricing on any of our vacant properties that we listed? We would need board direction to do that, so that's why I'm asking.
What's that process look like for you guys?
So we would work with our realtor that's on contract with the county. We would provide the property addresses or parcel numbers and get fair market value options on those that we could sell currently. I would do at board direction, the ones that we included. And then come back with pricing on that, on those properties, if that's what the board would like to do.
So like we just can't look it up on Zillow?
Some of the parcels don't even, they're not even in the assessor's parcel search. So that was why I was just going to give tax value, just to give ballparks, but there's a handful that aren't even listed in there for whatever reason. So this would just give truer numbers.
I would be okay with that.
Okay.
But
So I've seen one other head nod, so I'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay, 3, okay. So we'll work on that. So it sounds like we'll come back in the future and at least have some good understanding on pricing. Okay,
Would you guys want us, I don't want to say consider, but maybe it's the right word. Any of our vacant buildings, looking at different departments, moving those vacant buildings to free up other buildings to sell to, I mean, I want to be the person saying you should move there. That should probably come from the board, but there certainly are some options so far, like say the annex of people moving there that would free up another building to sell.
I don't think you can avoid those conversations, right?
Mhm.
I agree.
I think we should look at it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think we definitely need it.
I know,
Okay.
and I'm not purposely trying to make departments nervous, but I think you have to look at those things just as information.
The agenda for Sean's budget meeting next time, is that something we want to incorporate this discussion with that, or I guess a separate meeting?
You mean the budget meeting for Public Works?
No, I'm just saying, I think from my understanding, he was going to come with a pretty good discussion with you guys in the next couple of weeks with budget. I
About
didn't know if this
expense
was-
reductions.
Yeah, if this was all encompassed together, if you want this to be a separate discussion, it might get too long one way or the other.
Kind of ask him his workload.
So currently we have scheduled on the agenda for the 23rd, discussion about expenditures. I think that's gonna be a fairly long meeting already, so maybe the Tuesday, 1:30, 2:30 time might be a better option for that.
Okay, so maybe we can follow up the next day, right off that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, that'd be good because then we could have, we've already had a conversation
Mhm.
about our current expenditures.
Okay,
Great.
all right. We'll have Sean work on that. Just kidding. And then just a miscellaneous facilities item, the Millig project is going well. We met with our project manager today. Kelly was also at that meeting with our contingency fund, so that's looking, everybody, really good. So we're expecting returns on that project. We do have a couple items that we've asked Millie to look into, some other items that were cut before we started the project. For example, one of those items is that evidence storage room at the bottom floor that used to be the gun range, putting in some kind of heating, cooling, temperature control in there. So we're looking at moving forward with that so they can actually store documents and we don't have to worry about mold and air quality issues in there. So that's just one of the smaller projects we're looking at. Since you're going there later today, you'll see that we've removed that big ugly duct on the side of the big
you did?
ductwork that ran
Off
up.
the side of the building?
Yes, that's gone.
Wow.
There's some really pretty plywood there now, just covering the vent, but that'll also be gone soon. So no, I mean, I hate to get ahead of us, but I think it's going well and I'm excited for the project to come to a close and we're looking at end of April, beginning of May.
Really?
So yeah, pretty exciting. So that was my Millig update.
Well, and so you're aware also, Savannah, the feedback that I have personally received from a lot of the people that have been affected by it,
Mhm.
it's been positive. They appreciate the effort that's being made to accommodate them. And you guys are doing a good job with it.
Thank you. I will share that with the facilities and IT teams. Thank you. All right. It's the Susan show next.
When Susan's coming up, I missed a couple of people. Back at the leachate line, I really need to make sure, thank the 4 shops that we have, Longview, Klamath, Kelso, Castle Rock, but also the landfill team, sign shop, spray shop, ER&R. It's been amazing the last 3 weeks because a lot of people we're bouncing around everywhere. We have landfill issues or people trying to even take lunch by loading trucks. We have different teams from the Longview shop, Castle Rock, Klamath, covering those lunches, but also running our vac trucks. And they're working long hours and weekend hours. We have our spray team and we had sign crews out flagging throughout the weeks. So it's been a long 3 weeks for the entire team, not just the landfill team. So I want to thank all of them.
They do a good job.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So we're continuing the waste theme today. Turwa has updated their pretreatment policy, and as a member, we need to adopt it. So I invited Joe to come and give you guys a presentation on the pretreatment policy, and I'm working with Doug to get it through our process, but I thought Joe could give you a much better explanation than I could. Your choice. Probably better because I think they pulled up your, yes. So it's telling us we need a update. Press later.
Ignore the check engine light, just drive on.
I don't see the presentation, Kelly.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Jordan. I'm the general manager of Turwa. And as Susan said, I'm here to present on the pretreatment policy update and request adoption with the county. To start, I'll do a really brief overview of the Turwa. Turwa is a joint municipal utility services authority. We serve the city of Longview, Kelso, Beacon Hill Water Sewer District, and Cowlitz County. We are governed by a board of directors and operating board from the entities that we serve. The operating board meets monthly and consists of like professionals, city engineers, public works directors, those kind of things. And then the board of directors meets twice annually and consists of elected officials such as county commissioners and city council members. Turwa owns and operates a 26 million gallon per day activated sludge wastewater treatment plant. In essence, we utilize microbes or bugs, as I'll call them, to treat the wastewater. So to put simply, it's our job as operators to keep the bugs happy so they continue to do what they need to do and treat the wastewater. Turwa staffs 25 full-time employees, 7 days a week. We treat wastewater from a population coverage of 65,000 or approximately. In 2025, we treated 3.1 billion gallons of wastewater, which equates to about 8.5 million gallons per day. The 2026 operating budget is $8.5 million. The Turwa has met budget for 21 consecutive years now. We hope to keep that going. In 2025, we set a new revenue record for hauled waste, bringing in $608,000, which equates to about 5 million gallons of septage and biosolids received from other facilities. I should add, feel free to interject if you have any questions at any time. Before getting into the pretreatment policy, just wanted to do a really high-level overview of the treatment system and kind of have three main takeaways. The first of which are there are three types of dischargers. We have residential, which are the homes and apartments. We have commercial. Those consist of restaurants, auto shops, fast food restaurants. And then we have the industrial. Examples of that is Foster Farms, the landfills, the divert facility now in Longview. And what kind of separates the industrials, they are high flow volume and have high levels of pollutants. The second takeaway is that all users discharge to the publicly owned collection system, which is maintained by each entity, and the flow never stops. Turwa receives and treats all the wastewater. Sorry, this is the third takeaway, is that Turwa receives and treats all the wastewater from those users, and with that creates two products. The first is our effluent, which we discharge to the Columbia River, and the second is our biosolids, which we beneficially reuse or land apply on agricultural fields. Both of those products are highly regulated and have specific pollutant limits.
Can I ask a quick question on the biosolids, just because it interests me? I know you came in one time and showed the stuff you send like to Eastern Washington for farmers and whatnot, but you were working on a better one that could almost be like sold through a store for somebody putting in their flower bed.
Yeah.
Are we?
We aren't quite there yet.
Okay.
We're in the middle of that project. As of right now, that is supposed to conclude in October of this year.
Oh,
And then
okay.
that's kind of one of the last aspects, is that it's using a drum dryer system. And yes, it'll make a tiny little pelletized product that we could market. Okay, going into the purpose of the pretreatment policy, essentially it complies with all state and federal requirements. The Department of Ecology and EPA require Turwa to protect itself, which I think is a good thing. In addition, it protects Turwa's facility, the entity's collection system equipment, microbial processes, and then staff from any harmful discharges. In addition, it promotes and ensures that local businesses and industries are using best management practices, which in turn lowers maintenance costs for Turwa and the entities. Getting into the pretreatment policy overview, there's just kind of three key elements that I wanted to present on. First is the wastewater discharge permits. The policy itself just governs for commercial user permits. The industrial permits are written and regulated by the Department of Ecology. The commercial users, again, examples are restaurants and fast food places. These are rather simple permits. They have 3-year permit cycles and require routine maintenance and cleaning of the pretreatment equipment. Examples of that are grease interceptors or traps, and then oil water separators. Turwa manages the discharge permit or commercial user discharge permits for Beacon Hill, the city of Kelso, and Cowlitz County. We have 82 active permits. The city of Longview manages their own, and they have 161. And again, Ecology manages the large industry discharge permits, of which we have 8. Turwa works closely with Ecology when we are drafting those permits, or I should say when Ecology is drafting those permits. And then they also utilize the local pretreatment limits to write those permits. The second element of the pretreatment policy is the industrial user surveys. These are conducted annually as required. And really the purpose of it is just to identify any new commercial or industrial users to town. For the most part, I don't think anyone's going to miss those coming to town. If a large industrial user is found, we report it to the Department of Ecology for them to then assess whether they need a permit or not. For example, in 2025, Turwa surveyed 211 commercial users, industrial users. We gathered 85% responses from them on those surveys, and no new industrial users were identified. The final element is that the policy establishes local discharge limits. These limits apply to the industrial and commercial users. Limits comprise of pollutants of concern that in specific concentrations may inhibit or destroy the biological treatment process or impact the bugs that do the treatment, damage treatment facility or sewer system equipment, compromise TURWAS compliance with various permits, or compromise our two products, and then finally pose a threat to human and environmental health. Examples of the limits are oil and grease concentrations are at 100 milligrams per liter. The reason we limit this is excessive buildup can result in blockages in the collection system, which are never a good thing. We have total metals concentrations that protects our biosolids permit, pH limits, which protects our permit compliance and equipment. And then we have a biological oxygen demand, or BOD, of 350 milligrams per liter. And that really is just a general pollutant measurement that in high concentrations can overwhelm a treatment plant and prevent it from its processes. So getting into the specific policy updates, I did want to note several things. First, the original policy and existing one was first adopted in 2012, and there has been no update since that time. So the real driving factor for the update is because the existing limits are based on that older data. And so in order to be more defensible, we needed relevant, more representative data to support those limits. And then finally, the updates do not create any new authority, just updates existing authority parameters. Okay, so for the first update, that is.
Before
yes.
could you go back one?
Yeah.
With regards to the permit, is it something that we're wanting to update the permit because of the environment that we're in? Like you said, it's more defensible.
Mhm.
Or is it something that you're seeing that because of the water treatment, the results that we're getting are not as efficient as they could be? What's the actual reason for the permit outside of, is it just to be more defensible should something happen? Or is there a legitimate issue with regards to the treatment of the water that is causing that we need to update that permit?
For the policy update?
Yeah.
Yes, I would say it was kind of pressures from industries to look at that. Again, going back to that defensible limits. As for the treatment plant itself and processes, I would say we're good. We routinely meet our permit parameters well within.
So is
within
there
scope.
anything in this new update that is going to add more constraints and more legislation, more garbage to what you're trying to do?
No, I
No?
do not believe so, no.
That's a first. That's good.
So I'm going to interject for a moment just to let you know to the way they updated this, the pretreatment, the actual physical limits is they did have Gibson Olson do a whole study on what different limits and how it impacts the processes within the plant, such as the BOD and the ammonia impacting the bugs and their processes. So that's how they started developing the new limits, because the old policy just had a 350, let's
Mhm.
say, and now it's average 350 and you can have an occasional spike. So it actually helps the industries to some extent, the revisions that we've made.
While also with the study ensuring that we're protecting our infrastructure and our treatment plant. So yeah, just kind of expanding on exactly what Susan just hit on, the local limits were updated based on a study conducted by Gibson Olson. And again, that study focused on pollutants of concern with high variability, which is that BOD, biological oxygen demand, total suspended solids, and ammonia. And then it assessed TURWA's current treatment processes, its limitations and our removal efficiency, and then took that information and was able to establish the new discharge limits by considering the four factors listed there. protecting Turwah's discharge permit compliance, R2 products, allocating a fair portion of the system capacity to current dischargers, while also allocating a fair portion to future growth. And then finally ensuring that there's a safety factor, just so we don't end up in an untimely plan expansion. On this slide, we have the existing current limits with the updated limits, as you'll see, and Susan hit on. The updated limits now carry two kind of categories: a daily maximum and a monthly average limit, whereas the previous just had a single limit, which Ecology was applying to the large industries permits, which made things less friendly for them, more difficult for Ecology, and that the 350, you had a daily max of 350 while also a monthly average of it. So there was no wiggle room there to ever exceed your monthly average, which is typical for permit writing. So with that, we did see an increase in our BOD and TSS for the daily maximum, whereas for the ammonia, which is the most extensive pollutant to remove and least cost effective, I'll say, we actually saw a reduction for those monthly average limits from decreasing it from the 44 milligrams per liter to the 40. Okay, moving into our second update, we incorporated the King County Volatile Organic Compound, or VOCs, discharge levels. I do want to hit on, these are levels, not limits, and I'll kind of explain what that means further on. But to start, I'll just briefly hit on what are VOCs. Essentially, they're man-made or natural occurring compounds that very easily deteriorate. I listed a couple examples of them. And again, in high concentrations, they pose a risk to the treatment plant process and human and environmental health. So I'll note kind of the driver for incorporating this is we did have an issue with an industry, and because we didn't have anything in our policy, or at least I should say the policy was vague when discussing volatile organic compounds, we really didn't have any teeth to enact any change with that industry. So that's kind of the driver for incorporating these things. Fortunately, on that note, the industry worked with Turwah and was able to make changes, and it's been a proactive approach to things. So now getting into why we chose King County, it's simply because they did the work for us, really. What they did is they identified commonly used VOCs in industries, and then considered the permissible exposure limit of each VOC, or essentially what a human can come in contact with each at a safe level, and then back calculated that from a gas state to a liquid state, and then was able to develop those levels of those safe levels in wastewater. So that is the actual table of the VOC discharge levels. And again, these are levels. So these aren't hard limits, meaning if an industry discharges in excess of this, it won't be a permit violation as much as it will just enact corrective actions to lower the levels and get them back to a safe level. Oh, I'll also note that because it was based on the PELs, or permissible exposure limits, this isn't something that needs to be frequently updated unless those levels are updated, which is very rare. King County has not had to update this since they enacted it 15 to 20 years ago. Okay, and then the final update was housekeeping. Specific items with the housekeeping was updating the hauled waste definitions now with our new upgrades and an increase in receiving hauled waste. We wanted to make sure we updated those definitions and requirements to better reflect current practices. It also added clarifying language for right of entry so that Turwah can continue to conduct compliance monitoring for industrial users. This allows us to ensure we can go on site and collect side-by-side samples and make sure they're complying with their permit. It also updates the discharge permit process to better reflect current practices. I should say the commercial user discharge permit, and then updates titles and references. Okay, so at this time, the updated pretreatment policy has been approved by the Terroir Operating Board. And in order for it to go into effect, we have to have all of our entities adopt it. So I am here on behalf of Terroir seeking adoption of the pretreatment policy. I'll note that I've presented to the City of Longview. A public hearing for that is this Thursday, and you guys are the second entity I've presented to. Any questions?
If a municipality is not a member of Terroir, what's the process for them to possibly to become one? Let's just say Kalama, for example. Is it possible for them to, would we pump water to one of your stations? What would that look like?
Yes, I think that is possible. I think that would be a pretty extensive process. I couldn't outline it for you though.
Because I noticed on there that you talked about expanding your footprint. One of the things that was on there, I know that Kalama and the port, they have that sewer treatment plant right there in the parking lot of the McMinimans. And there are certain days when it's not too pleasant to get out of your car right next to that thing. And so I'm not speaking on their behalf. I was just wondering if that was something that if you guys would put a treatment plant, you know, if they would have to pump it to you guys, what that would possibly look like. I'm sure there's a lot of engineering and planning that would need to go into it, but I wanted to see if it was a possibility.
Yeah, I don't think it's an impossibility. And then to kind of expand on that example, Terroir receives and treats Kalama's biosolids to, I think, kind of help alleviate the issue that you highlighted.
Okay. Susan, thanks for the SBAR.
Oh, you're
I was
welcome.
able to go through and read it and get an understanding of what we were going to talk about today, so I appreciate that.
No problem. So I'm continuing to work with legal to get the ordinance or resolution, whichever way they're going to go, and then we'll get that in front of you as soon as I have it. Because we adopted this per ordinance as part of the county code in chapter 1515 that specifically says 2020-12 pretreatment policy. And so we're probably going to have to do it as an ordinance with a public hearing. So, but that is with legal working through.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, do you have anything else?
I have two miscellaneous items, if you guys will indulge me. The first is a follow-up from Commissioner Rader's email that was forwarded about cats for the feasibility study. So that is not actually something that Public Works can do, but if they're looking for a funding source, and Sean's going to kill me, but he left. So I think, in my opinion, that would be a viable paths and trails because they're looking at establishing an alternate transportation system, separated path. So that might be an avenue of a way the county can help them, even though the facility will not be on our facility, but paths and trails money could probably be applied to that.
Okay, and then what about their one of the other questions that they asked me was with regard to like a flashing speed limit sign, you know, as you're coming into town, similar to what we did in front of Walt's Meats for the crosswalk.
Yes.
Is that something do we have that as an option?
That is a state facility, so county road funds cannot be spent on it. Walt's Meats, we worked with them and they actually purchased the lights. We installed them and we'll maintain them moving forward, but that is on our facility. That is similar to how the flashing school lights were installed as part of their bond process. They purchased the lights, and actually they installed them as part of their contract, but now we operate and maintain them. So I know Rose Valley and Carroll's are good examples. They both have the ones that tell you how fast you're going and they flash at you when you go, but those were school district purchased that we maintain.
So is there any circumstance where any of the funding that we have for roads would be that we would be able to help them with any speed reducing measures or anything like that due to that's a state highway?
It's a state highway. So county road fund, it needs to be by statute only used on county roads. County transportation facilities. So if it was a trail along a county road being used as a alternative transportation, that qualifies for transportation dollars, but it needs to be associated with the road.
Okay. So as far as the feasibility study for the trail, you think Path and Trails?
I think Path and
Funding.
Trails funding would be the way for them to
Okay.
explore looking into that request.
Okay, thank you.
And then the other item, I just wanted to follow up from this morning's meeting with Old Highway 99 South by Fulbright. We are working currently on getting an HPA in order to be able to go out and clean that culvert. It is considered a fish-bearing stream, so we just can't go out and dig unless it is a blatant emergency, but we are in the process because we'll have to go out and isolate the stream and trap the fish and do all of our appropriate reporting in order to clear that culvert. It is, the big issue of it is uphill is steep and then it hits the culvert and it's flat. And so everything drops out there. And we have quite a few culverts like that throughout the county. And it is on our long list of culverts that we're looking at replacing in the future. But as you heard me say on Friday, we have over 5,000 culverts in the county, so we hit them as we can. And it's, the culvert itself is in good condition. It's just the
Design.
slope, so.
So you're talking about the one this morning, the gentleman?
Yes, Mr. Portner this
And so
morning.
he was only concerned with the outfall side of that. No,
So what he is talking about, what has been done in the past is they will go out, they'll isolate the stream and they'll clear out, dig a hole basically at the bottom of the outfall with the theory that the rest of the material will wash through and collect in there and clear the culvert and of course not clog the stream downstream. The culvert is very short. It's a 4 or 5 foot culvert, so you cannot get any equipment in there. So you can only really clear the two ends because it's Old Highway 99 and that section is quite wide. So I don't know the actual length, but it is an 80 or 90 foot culvert and it's too large to jet like we would do with a 24-inch culvert, but it is something we clear the ends of, but we can't get under there. It's too small for a person and it's too small for a piece of equipment. So we are looking at cleaning the ends this summer like we have in the past. The permit was submitted a couple weeks ago. I checked with staff. I thought it was one of the ones we were planning on doing this summer.
sometime this summer? Okay.
Yes, what, during the fish window, which I can't remember what it is for that stream. Excuse me, I believe it's an earlier window. I think it's a July, mid-July to mid-August window versus things up in Tootle because it's lower, closer to the Columbia itself. So the fish window's earlier.
So a couple of questions on that. Can you help me understand what the definition of a fish bearing? I know that sounds redundant, but is it 1 fish per 10 feet? How many fish is it? And why is there a window that we can do work? If they're there, they're there. I mean, because I don't think there's salmon running through that little creek. So what is a fish bearing stream and why do we have windows on them? Because if there's fish in the river, there's fish in the river.
So the windows are based on spawning and when there's eggs in the river. I'm not a biologist, so I don't understand. I've never done a deep dive into how they establish them, but it has to do with the times that there would be us digging in the stream or disturbing would be detrimental to spawning and fry in particular is what they're looking for us not to disturb because they figure the old ones are more likely to survive. So that's what they base those fish windows on. And I'd have to read a little better to give you a better answer, more correct and thorough. And the fish number, I don't know what the fish number is based on. Some of it is based on traditional fish streams. If I-5 and the railroad weren't there, this would be a fully accessible stream off the Columbia. I don't know what those downstream are considered, what passability those have. So I think if they said it's a past fish-bearing stream, traditional, they consider it fish still, even unless it's 100% blockage. And I don't believe they're 100% blocked on that stream. I have seen some weird places considered fish-bearing streams that are upstream of diking pump stations that they're still saying are fish streams, because there's different windows depending on where you are with the fish migration. We have the salmonoid species, and then we have aquatic organism requirements also, which would be your resident trout, your frogs, your salamanders, everything that lives in the stream. So even if it's a stream that doesn't have the summer and fall and spring spawnings, they still have requirements because you have to treat the aquatic organisms and make sure they can pass.
That was gonna be my next question, because take the Kalama, for example, there's fish spawning in there in the winter, the fall, the spring, and the summer. Steelhead and salmon, throughout different times of the year. So I was just wondering what logic was being applied to that process. Yeah. Okay.
Biologist logic, I can only guess some days.
Yeah.
So imagine somewhere somebody's got a list of what they think all the fish are that are in that particular body of water.
Yes, you can actually go on, well, for the salmon species, you can go on Fish and Wildlife's website, and they have a map. It's called Salmonscape. And you can zoom in to our area and click on fish species, and they have them listed: fall trout, kokanee, spring, Chinook, and click on them, and your stream will light up different colors depending on if it's presumed, if it's spawning habitat, if it's known habitat for the different species.
So if it's presumed, it's not known, somebody just says, I think maybe this could be what if.
There are some that are presumed. There are lots that the presumed, I believe, are dashed lines, and the known are solid lines, if I remember correctly from the last time I was on it, because it is something we check.
I had a conversation with a fish biologist about the Kalama, and she said to me that there's no chum on the Kalama River. And I said, I beg to differ. I have a picture of one that we caught on the Kalama River. And so, yeah, I don't really know that it's an exact science. I think there's a lot of hypothesis that goes into it, and a lot of money that we chase and throw after those hypotheses. No.
So when you have to go in and block off shock a section of river and count the fish and do all of that, does somebody record what every species of fish is? And oh my God, here's one we didn't know was in here.
When we isolate a stream, yes.
Sure.
So we isolate the stream, you water it, and then shock it, and they record how many of each species and what size they are when we remove them. Because the last one we did was garlock, and I brought you what it was because I was surprised at some of the things they found in there, and the number of lamprey they found was just mind-boggling to me, because they found a bunch of, I think it was over 100 about this size lamprey in the garlock when they were dewatering. So.
Interesting stuff.
And you have to report if you accidentally kill one.
During any process?
During this process, you have to report when you're shocking and removing them. If you have any mortality, it is considered reportable. So killing a few, you're okay. But if you kill too many, they'll ask you what was wrong with your shocker. So.
Okay. Anything
So
else?
that's all I had, unless y'all had more for me.
I don't have anything. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kelly, do we have anything else? No? Okay. Well, thank you all. We will adjourn.